This is the Relevant Podcast.
It's Tuesday, March 1st, 2022. And it's the Relevant Podcast. Here in Orlando, I'm your host, Cameron Strang. And joining me from Loverland, Virginia, it's Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello.
From Austin, Texas, author, speaker, podcaster, Jamie Ivey.
Hey, guys.
And sitting in once again, Derek is still unable to record. His studio is being rebuilt. So joining us once again, Relevant team member from San Diego, California, Gabrielle Griffin. Hey, Gabs.
Hi, guys.
You did so good last time. We wanted to have you back.
You did so great.
Great, thanks.
Gabs, was it just a huge rush?
It was. When adrenaline was pumping. I'm sitting here at my desk ready to run.
She was just running on adrenaline, and then like once we stopped recording, it was just like, whoa, what just happened? Yeah, she just blocked out the whole time. Yeah. Jesse, I'm telling you, I spent the entire weekend in a deep dive trying to figure out your Giants theory from last show. I know we don't reference show to show, but
I mean, we could do a whole episode. We could do a whole episode just on that. If you guys would like,
Clark, I think we should devote the month of March.
There's more.
The month of March to Jesse's giant theories, because we need to get some experts on here. Let's get Jane Goodall on the phone.
I would love just Relevant in general to do, I mean, I know in the past they've done, we came off like a wellness month or not a month, but a stretch of like wellness stuff, or, we've done like relationship months. Why not Giants Month? Okay, just stick with me.
First of all, we had sponsors for those months that wanted to propel that type of content, thoughtful content. I don't know who would fund Giants Month.
Is Big and Tall store still a thing? We could hit up them. Maybe like see if Joseph A. Banks, if even just the Big and Tall section of Joseph A. Banks.
Oh my gosh!
I'm sure
Big and Tall stores are going to sponsor.
Is there like
our
an
Giants
orthopedic?
Month?
Is there an orthopedic shoe company that might want to be part of it? I don't want to write it off quite yet.
We'll tell the ad team. We'll tell the sales team. Look into it.
I think, Costco seems to sell food in tremendous portions. If anyone's going to corner the market on
if
gigantic
you're going to feed a
appetites,
giant, you got to shop at Costco. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So, maybe the New York Giants, they're not doing so hot.
Right.
It seems like they could use a little good publicity. Why not get them on board? I'm just saying, I don't know if the sales team's trying hard enough is the problem. I think the market demand's pretty clear on the Giant front. There's a demand there. It's a matter of...
Why are the New York Giants named Giants? Is it because it's ancient land of giants? They lived in the Northeast?
And there's the San Francisco Giants, too.
San Francisco Giants, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the San Francisco Giants.
Maybe Giants is just like, you're playing against the Giants. That's scary, so here come the Giants.
Well, it could be the San Francisco Philistines, I
mean, that wasn't too...
frightening.
They probably ran that through some marketing and landed back on the Giants.
It doesn't roll off the tongue the same way, It doesn't really,
Well, we have a great show in store for you today. Coming up later, we talk to professor and author Kristin Du Mez. She is, you probably know her from her book, got a lot of conversation, still getting a lot of conversation around it, Jesus and John Wayne. And she's going to join us today. Also, we have slices coming up. And at the end of the show, we have your feedback. But before we get going, Jesse, I know you have strong thoughts about the Winter Olympics. And since they are now a couple of weeks in the rearview mirror, what is your takeaway? We're in March now. We have moved on. We're in springtime.
March Madness is
coming up. Yeah. The lame sports are over. The good sports are here. Jesse, what is your postmortem about the winter sports, finally ending?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we talked extensively about all the things wrong with the Olympics in recent weeks. But I want to, I think we can redeem just the idea of the Winter Olympics by just freshening up some of the competition, because I ran across a video of something called ski ballet the other day. Okay, it is ballet on skis. And now in your mind, you're thinking, well, that sounds super lame. Like, skiing isn't all that exciting. Neither is ballet. But this event is unlike anything I've ever seen.
Okay.
Imagine someone on skis trying to be elegant. One, they're moving at a very slow speed. Like they're not like skiing down a hill doing ballet. They're just kind of jumping around on
cross
skis.
country style, or like is it flat?
Just jumping around. It's a flat area. Just imagine someone on skis just kind of pushing around. They're not really going anywhere. Just in circles. They're like standing up on their poles, spinning their feet like a helicopter. It's unbelievable. I just think we need to just start getting more creative and just combining sports into one awesome thing. You know what I mean? Like ski, ballet. It's like that one, the one where they ski and shoot a gun. There's no need to combine those things. Right. But I'm going to watch if they do.
Well, if you had to hunt in Norway or Alaska, you need to know how to ski and shoot. I mean, it's a skill. It's a skill. It's a survival skill. But you're saying what you want to do is a fishbowl of sports on individual pieces of paper, and people have to just grab two and combine them and then make it an event.
Oh, that's a fun party game
Absolutely.
right there.
I think we need to freshen this whole thing up. Like I said, it's like, oh, I got basketball, speed skating. All right, don't know how that's going to work, but let's try it. Like, it can't be any worse or more boring than what I'm watching now. I'm just throwing it out there to the IOC. I think they need to buy back some goodwill. Let's get a little weird with next year. That's all I'm saying. It's just a minor suggestion from someone who stumbled on an awesome video. I'm going to send it around to the team if I can find it.
Well, I looked up some images on this ski ballet, and every image I'm finding looks very like 1970s, 1980s. Is this a thing right now that people are doing?
No, this has been long discontinued.
And you're saying bring it back.
This is from the era where like ski movies were just a common thing. Like once a year, a new like raunchy ski comedy would come out where it's just like, the resort is about to get taken over by some big investor and they're going to lose its kind of hippie free will and spirit and go commercial. And the rebel skiers, those movies that used to come out in the 80s. It's from that era, ski ballet. It was kind of the glory day. But, I think this is something that we can bring back and introduce the world just to something just wholesome and fun.
What are some other sports that should be combined, Jesse?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I think I would like to see some combination of gymnastics and bowling. I think would be a lot of fun.
That sounds violent.
Precisely.
What are they doing? Like they're flipping with the ball, and then at the end of the flip, like they're just flinging it toward the pins. Like,
the gymnast is the bowling ball. They have to figure out how to slide down the thing.
Okay.
Maybe do a trick halfway. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It lends itself to a lot of creativity.
I like it. Maybe that should be the question of the week this week. What sports should be combined? I like it. Okay. All right. Well, that'll do it for Jesse's winter sports thoughts. Stay tuned. Up next, it's Licensed. You're listening to Future Islands. The song is King of Sweden. Speaking of winter sports. Well, today's show is brought to you by UHSM. Healthcare costs have been growing year after year and can lead to a lot of confusion. Thankfully, UHSM offers great and affordable health for everyone. Unite Health Share Ministries is a Christian health sharing ministry that puts your health above anything else. The programs at UHSM aren't insurance, but member-based fellowships where faithful people can take charge of their own health care. UHSM offers a variety of programs to meet your needs, from telehealth options to plans that cover the unexpected moments in life. UHSM has something for everyone. For more info, check out uhsm.org or contact a rep at 800-900-8476. Again, check out uhsm.org or contact a rep at 800-900-8476. Okay, it's time for
Slices.
What, you going with the original?
1 second.
Slices.
See,
There's that one too.
I like the original. Like, the original has an authority and an oomph to it. And that one is like,
It sounded great. It sounded great.
Well, do you really want one that's going to be a shocker, Gabs? Because
yes.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Slices.
I hate that one.
Sets the
That
wrong
sounds
tone.
violent.
Yeah, that's no good.
Yeah.
Do the sexy one. We need the sexy one. Oh yeah. It's time for slices, girl. Bringing the heat. All right. What do you have, Jesse?
All right. So how many of you guys, how often do you leave home without your phone, if ever?
Never.
My car
Often.
doesn't work without my phone, so I can't leave home without it.
Often, Gabs?
Often, yeah. I really don't like to be on my phone.
Where do you go without a phone?
Usually with my husband. I feel like if I am with my husband, I really don't need my phone that often. So if I'm trying to be intentional, I'll leave it at home.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
well, there you go.
yeah.
What about you, Jesse? Do you ever leave home without it?
Almost never. I mean, I don't even go from room to room without it. And that's probably problematic.
So what you're saying is when I text you and you don't reply for 8 or 9 hours, it's intentional.
Jesse, you just got called out.
I'm not. Here's the thing. I will say this. The evenings are a little different. The evenings I will like leave it somewhere. And if I'm like putting my kids down or if I'm really engaged in a show, I will put my phone, saying the evenings are kind of my, not digital twilight, but like the time where I don't have it. But if it's during the day, I'm always thinking there's someone trying to get a hold of me. Right. Well, I wanted to read some recent findings
you got there. Like everybody's trying to get in touch with me all the time.
I didn't say everyone. I just said there are people. And it's most likely people that are dependent on me for some reason or another that I've dropped the ball on something. So I can tell you it's for
stressed out.
It's not for ego reasons. Yeah. It's that, oh man, what did I forget to do today? Who's mad at me right now? But there was a new study, and this studyfinds.org actually did sort of a aggregation of a handful of recent studies that show just how dependent people are on their phones. 1 in 8 people claim that a dying battery actually gives them physical symptoms of anxiety. If they see that their battery is on the verge of dying, 1 in 8 people in part of this survey, and the survey, should be noted, was commissioned by a mobile tech company, that 1 in 8 actually have physical anxiety conditions when their phone is on the verge of dying. Nearly 48% said it would be very upsetting if they lost their phone. That's a higher percentage than people who would be more upset. They would be more upset about losing their phone than their bank card, their car keys, or even their wedding ring. The losing the phone had a greater degree of people that were demonstrating signs of being stressed out and upset. I don't love it, but I can kind of relate, to be honest with you. There are a few things that stress me. I was at a friend's house the other day. I was getting ready to leave. And
now you're bragging that you got friends? Golly, man.
And they have a house.
So
you have
popular.
a friend? Wait, hold on. Let me get this straight. You have a friend who has a house?
Yeah.
Wow, must be nice.
Yeah, there's friends and houses and shelter. And I was about to leave, and I was like, guys, I can't find my keys or my wallet. And you know what? I wasn't that stressed. I was like, yeah, what's worse that's going to happen? I'll have to get some credit cards replaced. I'll get a key made. If I don't have my phone, it's a feeling I don't like. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just being honest. Mm-hmm. This study, didn't make me any more comforted. It's like, I know a lot of psychology goes into the design of how we interface with technology, that they're designed to make us dependent on them. But when you guys experience this, is it kind of a wake up call for you?
Experience the anxiety?
Yeah, to experience these negative feelings when you're without a device.
Yeah. I mean, I get that anxiety situationally. It would make sense to get anxiety if you're like you don't have transportation and you need your phone to be able to get in touch with somebody to get transportation, to Uber or something. That makes sense to have anxiety. But if we're talking like we're just with people and hanging out and your phone battery is dying and you can't charge it and you have anxiety, I mean, then you're just a little too attached to your phone.
Yeah. I'm like, who cares? Like, I'll go all day without my phone.
Too.
I don't even know. I'm fine.
Jamie, what about you?
Well, I mean, I was thinking when you're talking about how much I use my phone for, and I've actually debated about taking email off my phone. Do you guys have your email on your phone?
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Yeah.
I
Okay, me
didn't
too.
for
And
a
I-
while, but I do now. Yeah.
I'm actually considering taking it off because it would be like, I'm just going to have that because I'll check my email on my phone all day long. And that feels so counterproductive because I'm not actually emailing anyone back. So I feel like I'm not actually doing anything.
Yeah, take it off.
But I think just the thought of like not having my phone, it would stress me out. And I'm trying to think if I should feel bad about that or
But
not.
you're a parent and your kids may, you know, like I think with people that have like your parent, I mean, like having your phone, it's kind of a safety net in case
Yeah.
something happened, they can reach you, that kind of
Which
thing.
is so funny. We're all of us, well, Gabrielle, I don't know how old you are, but all of us, everyone else on this podcast, we all remember that we didn't have phones when we were in high school and middle school.
Yeah.
And so like if I needed something from my mom in the middle of the day, I had to go to the office. I had to ask the secretary or the person at the front desk if I could use her phone. And then, you know, my mom wouldn't answer her phone because she was driving from work to home. There just was not this easy access to get a hold of everyone. And I think that we're so used to that now that we even think like, well, why isn't my kid texting me back? And then they finally do. They're like, Mom, I was taking a test. I'm like, well, just answer your phone real quick. I mean, I know you're in fifth period, but just, you know, answer me. We're so used to that instant everything.
And not only that, it like phones serve, and I consider myself someone who's reasonably comfortable in their own skin and can reasonably comfortable in social settings. But the phone is like a weird social crutch too, where if you're in a place and you just want to disappear, you can just start scrolling Twitter or looking at Instagram and all of a sudden no one bothers you and you're not socially uncomfortable anymore. Or if you're at a party and you don't really know anyone or just want to break from talking to people, it's totally socially acceptable to just start looking on your phone. But I don't really know if that's a good impulse. Like, you know, if you're waiting in line at the grocery store, it's just no one's just standing there, right? Like just being present. Everyone is taking themselves out of the moment. And I almost feel like not so much the ability to get a hold of someone or not get a hold of someone or to be accessible. I almost think that's sort of the more not dangerous, but concerning thing is, have we lost the ability to just be and not
To be present.
you know, exactly. Not to have a device in front of our face. If we're at a stoplight, again, sometimes I'll catch myself at a stoplight. I'm like, I want to see what's going on Twitter for this 30 seconds. You know, it's like, you sometimes you do wonder, like, what is access to this technology actually doing to us psychologically? And this study is interesting because not just psychologically, it's having an emotional impact on people just at the idea that the battery might prevent them from being able to access something that they feel a compulsion to constantly look at.
I think it's without question that it definitely takes us out of the moment and affects our relationships and affects friendships. It affects you being present. I mean, like I can think of just recently being in the store in line to get something and talking to a friend I was with and them being on their phone and feeling like it was rude, feeling like, you know, this is keeping us from connecting and talking and being in relationship. I feel like it affects us negatively in a lot of ways. I don't know. I can't find a positive there.
I'm on screens all day long. And so like, and I'm aware too of my own tendency to like, I go all in on something. Like I'll go like too far and like, frankly, like too much of anything can make you an addict. And so like, I'm aware of that with tech. So when I'm not like screens in my face working or we're watching TV, like I'm intentional to like turn off the phone and like I'll just go like sit in the evenings and watch the sunset on my back porch completely in silence because I need that break, you know, like and like when I'm in the car, like I put the phone away. Like I'm very mindful that I'll take it too far. Like I'll be too addicted to it. So I put that boundary up for myself, but I probably learned that the hard way. But it's interesting. Anxiety from low batteries affecting America. There you go. All right. What do you have, Jamie?
Well, this is an interesting story. And I don't know if you guys remember that in 2015, there was a shooting where a gunman actually shot a reporter and I believe her cameraman as they were doing a live coverage of the news.
Wow.
And do y'all remember this? I didn't remember this happening until I read about it. Okay, so this happened in 2015. Was
it like a drive-by shooting?
No, it was a disgruntled employee.
No. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's an interview, shots ring out, and it's a 2-person film crew. And the reporter, Allison Parker, she was actually killed as well as her reporter. She runs desperately as the camera tumbles to the ground. The cup clips, and the final scene is the legs of the shooter as he advances. Well, this 17-second clip which I'm just so surprised that this actually went live. I would have really thought they had a delay going on here, but I guess not, right? So this 17-second clip from 2015, as the cameraman and the reporter were fatally shot by a disgruntled employee colleague, it went viral. And it's been viral. It's still viral. It's been viewed millions of times on Facebook and YouTube and other places. And the woman who was murdered, her father, Andy, has been on a mission to have this clip removed from the internet. But if you can imagine, removing something from the internet feels impossible, especially something that's been shared millions and millions and millions of times. And honestly, until I read this, I would have never imagined what it would feel like for you to know that someone that you loved had something so tragic happen to them and that people were watching it kind of flippantly all over the internet. I mean, that has to be heartbreaking, right? Mm-hmm. So her dad's on a mission, and y'all know I do not understand this, but here's what he's doing. He's transformed the clip of the killings into an NFT, and he's trying to bid it to own it so that no one else can use it. We've talked about NFTs before. I don't quite understand, but from my understanding, you guys will correct me. He will own that clip. He will have it copyrighted. And then anyone that uses it, he can actually sue them. Am I correct?
That's not how NFTs work. It's not. I saw this news, and there's two perspectives on the legal side of this. And there are some legal experts saying, yeah, this is a theory. He should try this. But 99%, that's not how copyright law works. But that's not what an NFT is. An NFT is like he's buying an individual clip, like that one clip. And it's
which
just
maybe he wants to
the
buy the individual, the very
But he didn't buy all the facsimiles of that clip. He didn't, like, it's like if I have an image, an NFT, it's an image, I can screenshot that image. It's not, you own that one, but I own a facsimile of it or an image, a picture of it. You know what I mean? So I took a picture of your picture and just, you own your picture. That's great. But it's on the blockchain. It's a totally different thing than other clips on other websites. It's a nice attempt, but it's not how NFTs work.
He's very clearly, he says that this is his Hail Mary. It's like his last resort. And we've seen this happen before with families of shooting victims from Sandy Hook. There was a man, Lenny, whose son Noah, who was killed in the shooting in 2012. And he's filed hundreds of copyright claims to get pictures of his son taken down from websites that are spreading conspiracy theories about that shooting. And so I think my understanding of this whole thing is that these are parents who are saying you are profiting, whether that is maybe not even by money, but just by like profiting by enjoyment of watching my child be murdered. And I can't stand for this anymore. And so he's doing whatever he can to get it taken down.
The copyright thing is different than the NFT thing. And that's true. Like if I am the creator of an image and you've stolen my image and you put it on your website, copyright law, I'm coming after you to yank it with monetary, but NFT ownership is different than copyright. So he would have to go to like the station, purchase the footage, become the owner of the copyright of that footage. And then he can get a legal team going after any website that's streaming the footage that he owns. That is absolutely true, but that's totally separate from NFTs. Copyrights and NFTs are two totally different laws. But anyway. Yeah,
and I think too, beyond just like this particular case, I think it also kind of raises, to me, even more. I've been long skeptical of not just NFTs, but a lot of crypto related, sort of developments in technology. In terms of, I'm not skeptical of the technology itself. I understand, sort of blockchain and how it functions, but I'm skeptical about the applications people are finding for them.
Right.
Because I think, in a case like this, it's like, this isn't going to provide this individual with what he's looking for, which is the ability to own a piece of footage in order to prevent it from being spread. All it does is give him a literal digital token that says that he has a copy that no one else has, but it doesn't preclude anyone from making a copy. And, it's like, then it just opens up a bigger conversation. Well, if that's all NFTs are, then what's the point beyond just verifying that your digital copy is a different one than someone else has? If it gives you no sense of like ownership, then what's even the point? I that's kind of I guess a separate conversation, but I think one that is related to this. And I think there are some major misconceptions about NFTs that need to be dispelled, especially for people who are considering investing in them.
For sure.
Okay, can I read this from the article?
Yeah.
It says that he just doesn't want people sharing footage of his daughter's murder anymore, and turning the video into an NFT would technically give him the legal leverage to file copyright claims against platforms that host the video. Does that clear up some misunderstanding?
No, you communicated that clearly. That's just not how NFTs work.
It's a sad story.
It's a very sad story. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, Gabs, your debut slice, no pressure. What do you have?
The world awaits.
Great. Well, my
The
slice is
stakes
coming.
cannot be higher. Gabs, what is your slice?
You know what? The pressure you guys put on me is making me want to stuff my head in a pillow and not come out for the rest of the day.
Can I be honest? Gabs, I got to be honest. I'm nervous for you. Right
Great.
now.
Thank
I
you.
understand how big of a deal this is.
Right.
And
Don't
I'm
ruin
actually
the show,
having
Gabs. We've got a
quite
good momentum.
high degree of anxiety right now.
Wow. Okay. Well, you know what? I've never been told I'm a good storyteller, so this should be interesting. This is coming from all the way from
You're off to a good start. You're
Once
off to
upon a
good start.
time.
self-deprecation is my humor. Okay. This is coming from Forest Lake, Minnesota. Okay. This man, Eric Johnson, he owns a collectibles store. So it's like knickknacks, collectibles items,
babies.
things that you wouldn't find in a regular store. He had a Pokemon collection, and he worked extensively to have this in his store, just the most exclusive of the Pokemon cards. A thief broke in the middle of the night, dug a tunnel through his wall, like actually created a hole and then made it
Like
a
old timey
tunnel.
bank robberies? Were they
I guess so. He
chiseled
didn't. He chiseled his way through. He didn't trip any alarms. He didn't go through a window. So obviously the owner had no idea until he reviewed camera footage and obviously saw a store the next day. But he stole $250,000 worth of Pokemon cards. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So now the owner is having to file through insurance, but he broke down because I guess he can't get the Pokemon cards back either way because they were so rare. And yeah, the craziest part of this though is that this man literally created a tunnel through the store wall
for Pokemon cards.
That's like Shawshank
Pokemon
Redemption
cards.
style,
Yeah,
isn't it?
Ocean's 11. Yeah, Ocean's 11, ventilation shaft. It's like Tom Cruise going down the ventilation shaft for the knock list or whatever. And, but this is just some nerd tunneling for Pokemon cards.
So they
Literally.
haven't caught him?
Nope. He's still at large. So if you have Pokemon
Wow.
cards, hide
But
them
isn't there
away.
security footage and stuff? I mean,
There is,
They
but
could-
there's
Get a
no
mask on.
there's no way to
He's wearing a
visibly tell who it
Pikachu
was.
costume.
just look for the big nerd in your town, and that's the guy. That's the culprit.
Yeah.
The now new rich nerd in your town.
But 250,000 sounds like a lot, right? It
Uh-huh.
sounds like a lot, but there are actual single Pokemon cards that sell for over $1 million. So
Yeah.
250,000
Yeah.
for a whole collection actually isn't that crazy.
Maybe that's going to a collection that he already had. Now he has an ultimate collection. And he just needed this one last collector's edition piece.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Get out the pickaxe and start chiseling away and go. That's crazy.
I think and this is outside of my beat, but I believe Jake Paul
Yeah.
recently bought a Pokemon card or set of Pokemon cards for north of $3 million.
Yeah.
And
What?
I can't remember if that was the one where he opened the packages live on YouTube to reveal his $3 million cards, and it was G.I. Joe cards. It's the one that had stuffed in there instead and just ripped them off and, got off
my
scot-free,
God.
which is objectively hilarious. Even
That's
though it's a crime.
one of the things on his YouTube channel. He was just opening packs of cards and came across $1 million card. And then when he fought, he turned this $1 million card. He got it encased. You got to put it in case, and he turned it into a huge necklace. And that was the necklace that he wore to go to the ring to fight his next fight, whatever. He was walking in with his $1 million Pokemon card and his gold necklace. So
it just seems like if I'm going to tunnel into something
Right.
for theft,
right.
I got to make it because that's not a cool story.
Right,
Cameron,
right.
I know we've talked about those heist shows on Netflix. There's
Right.
a 100 of them, and it tells people stories of like awesome heist.
Yeah.
You want to steal, like, man, I got a Brinks truck worth of cash. I got these priceless jewels. This fleet of Italian sports cars or something. It's like cool stuff, right? And it's like, hey, man, I tunneled into a sports car store and ripped off some kid's Pokemon collection. It's like, well, that's not that cool. It's like, why are you bragging about that? You're not part of the cool thief club anymore. This is for cool heists people, not people, tunneling into, the nerd store to take Pokemon stuff.
Nerd store. It's the nerd store.
The nerd store. Especially now knowing that like there are cards worth $1 million and more. That's insane. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like anything, though. It's like Beanie Babies. It's whatever. It's like, it's not that there's any intrinsic value to that card. It's just rarity and then supply and demand. And then if it's worth what somebody will pay for it, but will they be willing to pay that 5 years from now when it's out of fashion? Probably not. It's not a good place to put your money. So
Well, I've invested heavily. And I have a Roth IRA and a lot of Pokemon. And, I'm just hoping they can weather this economy. I know inflation's crazy right now, but the Pokemon market is the most stable commodity we have right now. And that's concerning to me, but it is what it is.
Wait, it's stable digging through a wall to get Pokemon cards?
Yeah.
It's high demand,
All right. Good job, Gabs. You didn't ruin the show.
Thanks.
I'm very happy. That's a great storytelling.
A
Great
low
job.
bar, but you cleared it.
Thank you.
All right. Stay tuned. Up next, Kristin Du Mez joins us.
I think I met you in a dream. The way you move is like a distant memory. I think I met you in a dream. It feels so real to me. Another place, another time.
You're listening to Coin. The song is I Think I Met You in a Dream. Well, our guest today is Kristin Du Mez. She's a professor of history and gender studies at Calvin University. She's also a best-selling author, including her most recent book, Jesus and John Wayne, How White Evangelicals Corrupted a Faith and Fractured a Nation. Du Mez sat down with our very own Tyler Huckabee to discuss her latest book and the challenges of tackling patriarchy and misogyny in American Christianity. It's an important conversation. Here is Kristin Du Mez.
Your book is a lifetime source. The subject of your book is a lifetime source of fascination to me, and I'm really glad that somebody finally tackled this. A little jealous that you beat me to the punch, but you did a much better job than I would have on it. So can you start by just giving me, for the people who haven't read it and aren't familiar, a little bit about yourself and maybe a broad overview of Jesus and John Wayne?
Sure. I teach at Calvin University, and I grew up in a small town in Iowa in a conservative Christian subculture, Christian Reformed church, actually, so Dutch ethnic tradition. I went to a Christian university, went to Dort. Then I went off to graduate school to study U.S. history, intellectual and religious history. But my first semester there, I was introduced to women's history and gender studies, and immediately changed my course of study. And my first book ended up being out of my dissertation, A History of Christian Feminism. And then once I ended up at Calvin, it was actually my students who introduced me to the literature that is really at the heart of Jesus and John Wayne. They introduced me more than 15 years ago to John Eldridge's book, Wild at Heart. And it was at that point that I began to wonder how Christian conceptions of masculinity, particularly a more militant conception of masculinity, might be connected to a broader set of issues. At that point, it was early in the Iraq War, and I was looking at survey data on how militaristic, how much more than other Americans, white evangelicals supported that war, preemptive war in general, condoned the use of torture. And so from that point on, I just began watching this conversation carefully. Of course, this was the time of Mark Driscoll. There's a lot going on, Doug Wilson and others. And I just tracked this for a long time. And then it was in the fall of 2016 that actually in the weeks after the release of the Access Hollywood tape, we saw white evangelicals continue to support Donald Trump in rather astonishing numbers, given everything, that I decided to dust off this old research and see what I could do with it. And that's really the origin story of Jesus and John Wayne.
Something that we hear quite a bit relevant is, and that I've felt even, is this idea that the Trump thing came out of nowhere, that all my life I had thought Christians were like this, and now this happens, and I was wrong my entire life. Based on your research, is that a fair assessment? Was it fair for people to be blindsided by this?
Yeah, not really. Right. And that's really what I came to realize in those weeks after the Access Hollywood tapes, because while I had been watching kind of this conversation around militant evangelical masculinity for more than a decade, I had seen one after another evangelical leader become enmeshed in scandal, in abuse of power, in sexual abuse scandals, either directly or indirectly. And many of those who did were those who were kind of the key proponents of this really militant conception of masculinity and of evangelicalism more broadly. And so it was at that moment that I realized we've seen this before. We've seen this before. And that's why in the aftermath of the election, everybody was kind of wrestling with this 81% of white evangelicals who supported Trump. And the narrative then was, this was a betrayal of evangelical values. And knowing the history that I knew, I couldn't accept that. I thought this is not the betrayal of evangelical values. In many ways, it's the fulfillment. We just haven't properly understood what those values are. Things like family values, evangelicalism. What's really at the heart of that? And when we understand that, then we'll see that what we see in this widespread devotion to somebody like Trump is in fact largely consistent with many of the values that evangelicals hold. And evangelicalism is a diverse movement, and I'm talking specifically about white evangelicalism. So to clarify that, and then I focus on conservative white evangelicalism. So, the dominant subset. But what I saw in my research were a number of things. A long tradition of this kind of us versus them mentality of, we have the truth, we have God's truth on our side, and you need to be suspicious of outsiders who do not have this truth, who are a threat. Sometimes those outsiders were maybe the church down the road. Sometimes those outsiders were communists or liberals or feminists or secular humanists or radical Muslims, right? There's a lot of, but this us versus them kind of militancy was a long part of conservative evangelicalism, religiously, right, theologically, but also politically. And they go hand in hand. And then looking at conceptions of leadership that were patriarchal. So patriarchal leadership really is at the center of family values conservatism when you look at it historically. And there too, I read the literature, and there's a lot to read about, through the history of evangelicalism. What should men do? What should women do? And to be a man was to be a protector and a provider. And God filled men with testosterone so that they could be aggressive, they could be strong, they could be violent when necessary to protect faith, family, and nation.
And this may be a little bit beyond the scope of your research, but I know you're familiar with the question. There's a lot of people who are really heartbroken and who feel like they lost a whole community in this. Are those people, is it a lost cause to try to redeem evangelicalism, reform evangelicalism?
That is the question of the hour. And it's a very hard one to answer. The historian in me says this is so deeply embedded. When it came to the end of this book, the end of the manuscript, I was not in a place of hope or good cheer. And so much so my editor, after he finished the manuscript, he wrote me and said, could you give us a little hope in your conclusion? And I really tried. I looked at that. I wrote back to him a couple of days later. I was like, I don't think I can. I've got nothing. I feel the same way you do after reading this. And he's like, okay, I respect that. And then 2 days later, he writes back again. Kristin, just give us something. We can't do this to your readers. So then I gave him the last sentence of the book. What was once done can also be undone. And it just felt really flimsy at the time. But there's truth to that. There's truth that once you know this history, once you see that this was not all God ordained, it was not inevitable, that these were choices made by individuals, often men, for various reasons, often to enhance their own power. And then you can start to say, is this right? Is this where we want to be? Or do we need to undo some of this and place ourselves on a different path? And so I think that there is hope. I actually have much more hope now than I did when I finished this book. And that's because of the response to this book. I have received hundreds and hundreds of letters. I get several a day still from evangelicals themselves saying, this is the story of my life, and I am not okay with this, right? And so exactly those people you're talking about, heartbroken people, many of whom I never would have guessed. Some that I know of, powerful leaders, others, many just ordinary folks. But they are looking at, other people in their churches and their families and their communities and saying, what happened? And so there is this deep divide. Can it be reformed? Can it be redeemed? What it will take is a lot of courage for people to speak out and to risk maybe jobs, maybe relationships initially, to risk a sense of comfort and to speak out boldly. But it will also take brutal honesty. Right? How many of us, even if we are maybe horrified with where we are now, we also need the honesty to look at how we ourselves might be implicated in this and might have been complicit in this. And if we don't have that honesty, then the chances are we are not going to be able to reform and redeem if we haven't fully grasped what needs to be reformed and redeemed.
That was Kristin Du Mez. You can read more of our conversation with her over at relevantmagazine.com. Okay, stay tuned. Up next, it's your feedback. You're listening to Tame Impala. The song is The Boat I Row. Okay, it's time for your feedback. Last week, we had you guys send in cringy clips, audio clips, or video clips. And then we got thinking, we need to narrow this down. We need your favorite cringy church video clips. Those viral videos of the pastor having a slip up or this, that, whatever. They're hilarious. They're great. You guys hit us up on Twitter at Relevant Podcast and sent in a whole bunch of them. Also, you sent us a bunch that didn't have good audio. Like, this is an audio format, people. So if it's just like a silent video of a guy tripping, like, that's not really good. But there's a lot. If you want to go view them, go check out the replies over our Twitter account. But here are a few of our favorites. Griffin Gullidge sent in one that's just called Heavenly Farts. The description says, words are hard and sometimes we get tongue-tied. It happens to the best of us, even this pastor who tries to start off a sincere prayer. Here it is.
Before we begin, let's pray. Let's pray. Heavenly Farts, Heavenly Father.
There's no recovery.
To be stimulated to love you more.
We kept going. Oh, man. I would have just stopped, laughed.
I love it.
We're gonna need to take a beat. I did say Heavenly Farts. No.
Oh, man. Okay, so the next one is from Jeff Walden.
Jeff Walden. It says, it starts off with what appears to be a lovely instrumental cover of the song Give Thanks. But about 25 seconds in, someone who has likely never played the saxophone before jumps in. And this is what happens.
That literally hurts my ears.
I mean, can we be honest? They're circling it. Like, I can tell. I'll say this.
You can tell what song it was.
I can tell what they're going for. I can tell what they're attempting to achieve. You know,
the funniest part too is like it was one of those modern church services with like the smoke and the lights, and it looked like legit, and then like that's the saxophonist. That's great. All right, what's the next one, Clark?
All right, so this last one is from Karen Stepko.
Karen Stepko. It says Holy Week devotion bloopers. Back in Easter 2020 lockdown, a church made devotional videos for its congregation. Oh, that's nice. We were all trying to find ways to use technology so it makes sense, but that doesn't mean it was easy. A week later, the church released some bloopers to show the behind the scenes technical difficulties.
Friends, today we begin by lighting our candle.
Not able to light.
When they had come near Jerusalem and had reached Bethphage,
Can't do that.
Bethphage.
Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples,
Dad. Are you busy?
Apparently not. And we will be continuing our reading where reading for Holy Wednesday is quite a bit something burning? As I've been saying throughout this Holy Week devotional, nope.
He's back to trying to light his match. Hey, got it. Hey, that's not that funny to me because that's just like literally us recording the podcast. That's
I was going to say, that's our life. That's behind the scenes of podcasting.
Uh-huh.
Hey, what was the guy we mentioned last week that he introduced himself and then did that rendition of the church song? What was his name again?
Church song.
The guy who kicked off this whole, he's like, I'm John.
John
Dacre.
John Dacre guy. Yeah.
How do you, what was his last name, Clark?
John Dacre, Daker.
Dude, you're not going to believe this.
Oh.
He passed away this week.
Oh my gosh.
And there's like a fitting tribute there. I saw that,
how did you find this out?
I'm going to send you guys a link.
Oh, wow.
I didn't get it. I meant to read this before the podcast.
The online date story. And like she talked about, he made these song videos.
Wait.
Who are you talking about?
No. Not the song video guy.
The awkward singer, the awkward singer guy.
Oh,
all right.
I'm John Dacre. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
he was old. There he is.
Wow.
But I evidently, evidently this is Patheos has a very interesting tribute to him, and which acknowledge his viral notoriety.
Right.
And it ends with the line, "May he rest in peace, and may his memory outlast the internet."
Oh, that's right.
May
all of our memories
Yeah,
outlast it. So rest in peace, John Dacre.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Wow.
Well, there's more feedback where that came from. Go check it out. Relevant Podcast Twitter account. Okay, it's time for this week's
editorial question of the week. Hey.
All right, I said it at the beginning of the show. Help us invent new sports. Do the grab bag. Find 2 different events. Help put them together and describe the event to us. Describe what the objective would be, like Jesse's gymnastics bowling. Give us a word picture of what it would be like to experience that. Hit us up on Twitter at Relevant Podcast, or you can answer wherever you see us post the question on the other socials as well. Well, before we wrap up, I want to thank Kristin Du Mez for joining us. Make sure to check out the rest of that conversation. It's fantastic. It's over at relevantmagazine.com. And also, if you haven't yet, make sure to pick up her book, Jesus and John Wayne. It's available everywhere. Also, make sure to visit the faith section and check out A Deeper Walk every morning. It's presented by Lumo. It's our morning devotional. You can also sign up for an email to get it sent to your inbox every morning. It's right there at relevantmagazine.com in the faith section. It's a great way to start your day. Really, really like it. Also, if you like the show, make sure to let people know. Rate us and review us wherever you listen, whether that's Apple, Spotify, or wherever you hear it. It helps us out. We love the feedback. Also, if you like the music that we play in the breaks, make sure to check out our Spotify playlist. Just search for Heard on the Relevant Podcast. We update it every week. Some good bangers. Okay, on that note, we'll wrap it up. I'm Cameron Strang.
I'm Jesse Carey.
I'm Jamie Ivey.
I'm Gabrielle Griffin.
She didn't ruin the show. Good job, Gabs. 2 down.
Gabs, you killed it. You killed it, Gabs. You did great.
Great job, Gabs.
Thanks.
All right. You guys have a great week, everyone. We'll see you on Friday.
listening to the Relevant Podcast. Check out our features, interviews, and news updates every day at relevantmagazine.com. And make sure to follow Relevant on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest. For more great podcasts, browse the shows on the Relevant Podcast Network, which you can find at our site. And while you're there, don't miss the all-new era of Relevant Magazine. A new issue releases every other month at relevantmagazine.com.
We're going to need to take a beat. I did say heavenly farts.
Relevant Podcast Network.